Street Nasheed right here in Los Angeles, making it do what it do, man. Y'all check out Black Authentic Truth. Get some real good game on YouTube. Black Authentic Truth, man. Check it out, man. Real good information.
What I want to talk about is one of the videos that I've already done because I wanted to bring out more information, more evidence that all dark-skinned people are not African per se, are not the same people. That's really what I want to say. They're not the same people, meaning they're different culturally and ethnically. And that when it came to the transatlantic slave trade, the people that was caught in wars, the people that were kidnapped, the people that were just snatched and taken and walked through the interiors of Africa to the shores of the Ivory Coast and West Africa to these Europeans, they were not the same people. The point that I'm making is that these people are Africans, quote unquote, that sold other Africans were not the same people. They didn't see them as family. They didn't see them as their loved ones. They didn't see them as brothers. Okay. And it goes back to the idea or the way we have been informed and educated in America that if you are dark skinned, you are all the same, meaning any dark people, any dark race springs from Africa and they're the same. And so you see that we are painted with a broad brush. We're painted as though we're all the same. And I just want to show that that was not, in fact, true, or else Negroes wouldn't have ended up on cargo slave ships. So I got two books that I'm gonna bring out, and then we'll go on from there. I have a lot of information I can bring out. And I also want to just add in that somebody had asked me, and I responded to it. You'll see that video too. I responded to somebody saying that the author of the last book, where it talked about people being culturally and ethnically different, and that white people didn't just come in and sweep up and take black people. Well, they said, well, this author is a European. Basically, should we trust Europeans for the information? Isn't the people who have won all the battles and they're the conquerors? Don't they get the right, the history? And I'm gonna get to that. So I'm just showing that that wasn't the only book that I ever read. I've read plenty of books where it's saying the same thing and where you can ascertain and you can cross-reference information and start to see a picture that we have not normally grew up with. You start to see a narrative, or you start to see it from a different perspective, because we've only seen it from one perspective, which is the white man. He came, he put us in slavery, but we never look at how did we get into his hands. And so I'm going to show more to speak to my point that we were not the same people. So here we go. Now, this is the book, The Memoirs of Captain Hugh Crow, The Life and Times of a Slave Trade Captain. Now, I'm going to be reading from page 36, and it says, the ship at length began to lie over, almost on her beam ends, and dreading that the blacks might be suffocated, though at the risk of our lives, we permitted them all to come on deck. They, at this time, outnumbered us by more than 10-1. Our only dependence was on the good disposition of the 60 whom we had shipped on the windward coast, who were of a race superior to those of New Calabar. Nor was our confidence misplaced. They perceived our danger and were so active to assist that I do not hesitate to say that they were mainly instrumental in saving the ship. Now, this is Captain Hugh Crow, who wrote about his experiences in West Africa. And I would tell you, I would say, go ahead and go get this book. This is a good book. He gives out so much information that you can learn about the African tribes that were participating in the transatlantic slave trade. So his ship is about to sink. It's bent over on its side. They let the black people who they had as slaves, as cargo, come up from under the ship. These slaves then seen that they needed help and helped them. But the point that I want to make is that you see it highlighted is that these people came from the Windward Coast. And he says, who were of a race superior to those of New Calabar. Meaning these slaves that were caught in the interior of Africa and brought out and put on our slave ship, they were of a race superior to the Africans of New Calabar, meaning the people that lived on the coast, meaning they look different. Now, here's another book that I would inquire you to get. This book is Creole New Orleans, Race and Americanization, edited by Arnold R. Hirsch and Joseph Logsdon. Page 69 in this book, okay? The region that we're talking about is Senegambia, okay? It says 2/3 of the slaves brought to Louisiana under French rule came from Senegambia, and they included a strong and influential contingent of Bambara. Now, who are the Bambara? Well, who were the Bambara at this time? You understand? Because we know in Africa, many people have migrated and moved. Now, I just read from, I'm sorry, but I read from page 68, and I'm going to read the top of page 69. It says, the French had little hope of trading. The French had little hope of trading in Angola, except with great difficulty. Although the Company of the Indies had a trading post at Judah, which is in the Gulf of Benin, there it competed with all the nations of Europe. The Portuguese were taking the upper hand at Judah. The kings of Ardez or Alada or Porto Novo were hostile to the Europeans and interrupting trade. The slave trade at Judah was becoming uncertain and unprofitable. Now we get here. It says, between 1726 and 1731, almost all the slave trading voyages organized by the Company of the Indies went to Louisiana. 13 slave ships landed there during these years. All but one of them left from Senegambia, which was the source of 2/3 of the slaves brought to French Louisiana, 3,947 out of 5,987. The last ship arriving in 1743 also came from Senegambia. So this was an area where a lot of slaves came from. Now I'm going to get more to the point. This is the point. It says, the most important kingdoms of Senegambia maintained a tight control over which peoples could be enslaved and sold to the Europeans. I'll read that again. The most important kingdoms of Senegambia maintained a tight control over which peoples could be enslaved and sold to the Europeans. When I tell you, or when I was saying, or I was trying to explain from the last time that everybody wasn't the same, it's in the historical record. But we've been painted with a broad paintbrush that says we're all the same. It said that these people, these Africans, maintained a tight control over who could be sold and who could not be sold. I'm going to read some more. It says, it seems that during the 1720s, neither the Phoebe nor the Mandinga sold their own people or allowed others to sell them. The Bambara or Bamana enjoyed no such protection in the 1720s. These people did not allow their people to be sold. I'm going to read it one more time. It seems that during the 1720s, neither the Phoebe nor the Mandinga sold their own people or others to sell them. The Bambara enjoyed no such protection during this time. The Bambara. So I was researching the Bambara, and I found some surprising things about the Bambara, and I'll bring that out in a whole nother video. But just remember the Bambara. I'll just remember that. But the most important thing is about this video is that they maintained a tight control. These certain African tribes maintained a tight control over who could be sold and who couldn't. It wasn't a random thing. You understand? Now, the last book we read, it said that the people that they sold were culturally and ethnically different, meaning bloodline going back to ancient times. We're different. We're not the same. And I don't accept you. And you're not my brother. Yeah, we live on the same land. Yeah, you live over there in the mountains and I live here in the valley. But when it's time for me to, get enterprise and capitalism and money, and these Europeans are offering me guns, I'm going to do what I got to do to take your people. I'm not selling my own people. I'm not doing that. So that's that. This is the book you should get, Creole to New Orleans. I got it right here. Also got the memoirs of Captain Hugh Crow. Okay. But this book you should actually get. Let me put it up. Now, this book, it goes into the history of New Orleans, slaves coming there, mixing with the natives and the French. It has a lot of firsthand accounts from different people. And if you're a person that wants to know history about Louisiana or just history, this is definitely a book you can get. You probably can find this book for about $6 used. It has, invaluable information in it. So I would suggest y'all go ahead and get that. But yeah, getting back to my point, the point being is that through the transatlantic slave trade, on the other side, like we know the history of this side, we know the treachery of the Europeans, we know how villainous, how terroristic they were on this side, from our end on this side. But what we don't know is how it happened on that side and who was being sold. Who were the people selling other dark-skinned people? And who were these dark-skinned people? Well, I'll get to that in another video where I'll go over the Bambara. I'll talk about the Bambara, and you'll be surprised about some of the things that I'll bring out about the Bambara. So let me know what your thoughts are. Give me, what you think about the information I just brought out. And with that, this is Black Authentic Truth.